summer of ranking continues with the top 32 starting running backs in the NFL. Let me know if you agree or disagree in the comments, but let's get into it.
Someone has to be number 32, and that is Pittsburgh Steelers running back Jaylen Warren. Jaylen Warren has some starting experience, but lately it has been Naji Harris. But now that he is in Los Angeles as a member of the Chargers, Jaylen Warren will take the reins as Pittsburgh's starter, and I just don't believe that he's a starting caliber running back in this league. Last year, Warren had 511 yards and only one singular touchdown. PFF grades him at a 64.3, and honestly, on this list of running backs, he has to be number 32. Number 31, we have the Dallas Cowboys' new starting running back, Devonta Williams. Devonta Williams was electric in his rookie year, and people thought he was a big-time running back, but he has since fallen off tremendously. Broncos let him go, and now he's on the Dallas Cowboys. With Williams, injuries are always a problem, and in the Dallas Cowboys offense, expect him to not get a ton of targets considering that they already have CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens to throw the ball to. Williams only had 513 yards in 2024, and I don't expect him to grow those numbers in Dallas. Number 3, we got Cleveland Browns' Jerome Ford. We see a good amount of Jerome Ford through the years as he has filled in for Nick Chubb as he has had some unfortunate injury history. And to be honest, he looked really good as an RB2 alongside Nick Chubb. The problem is, give him the starting job, and he did not post up very good numbers whatsoever last season. 3 touchdowns last year was not going to cut it if he wants to move up in this ranking. But yeah, he definitely has more potential than some of the other guys on this list, and I think he can be a solid running back for the Cleveland Browns. Number 29, we have New England Patriots running back Ramondre Stevenson. Stevenson at times can be a great bruiser back, and is kind of like a knockoff version of Derrick Henry. However, Stevenson has been very inconsistent throughout his tenure as the Patriots' main guy in the backfield. And while he has potential with a new offensive line, I expect that there's a chance that Travion Henderson will take the starting job from him by the end of the year. But with that being said, Stevenson has shown that he can be solid at times, and he's a decent running back. Number 28, we got Isaiah Pacheco. Isaiah Pacheco can be a very explosive back. His smaller frame is a bit concerning, but with that being said, it was very unfortunate to see him go down with a severe injury last year, and he missed a ton of the season, and we didn't get to see a lot of what Pacheco can do when he's at his best and healthiest. I don't dislike Pacheco, but in the Chiefs offense, I honestly prefer Kareem Hunt, and I could see him taking over as the full-time starter by the end of the year. But yeah, that's not to say that Pacheco is a bad running back whatsoever. Number 27, we have emerging running back Chase Brown of the Cincinnati Bengals. Did not know anything about Chase Brown or how he played going into the season, but after watching some Chase Brown highlights, he's actually a pretty solid running back. He's got a good frame, good speed, good burst of energy. He does special teams and kickoffs for the Bengals, so you know he's got some good acceleration coming out of the backfield. Chase Brown was also close to etching in an 1,000-yard season with the Bengals' putrid O-line. His numbers are honestly pretty good. It's just there's more running backs with bigger sample sizes that I have over him in this list. Number 26, we got Washington Commanders running back Brian Robinson Jr. Brian Robinson was in a pretty interesting situation last year as he was pretty much splitting carries with Austin Eckler, and that's not to mention that Jaden Daniels is actually the Commanders' leading rusher with 891 yards. That little usage is not going to yield the most numbers from Brian Robinson Jr., but with that being said, he was still pretty solid and good enough for the 26th best starting running back in all football. Robinson had 799 yards and was averaging 4.3 yards. Number 25, DeAndre Swift of the Chicago Bears. We all expected DeAndre Swift's numbers to come down a bit as he was coming from the Eagles offense, the Bears offense, but honestly his numbers were still pretty solid in the Chicago Bears team. 959 yards is nothing to scoff at considering the putrid offense that he was in, and honestly I think he's poised for a really solid season under Ben Johnson. However, considering his track record and inconsistent play over the years, I have to put him at 25 because there are just more consistent backs ahead of him. Number 24, geez, what a fall off. We have Travis Etienne of the Jacksonville Jaguars. To put it bluntly, Travis Etienne was pretty terrible last season. Only 558 yards, 3.7 yards per carry, and 2 touchdowns is absolutely putrid for a guy who's projected to be one of the best running backs in football. He wasn't even the leading rusher on his team, but he is still slated to be the starter going into this season. The only reason he is higher on this list is because I still believe in him, because at his best, Travis Etienne is one of the best and most consistent fantasy and normal running backs in all football. Number 23 is Tyrone Tracy of the New York Giants. Tyrone Tracy burst onto the scene in 2024 and stole the starting job from Devin Singletary and honestly had a pretty impressive season for a rookie running back. Tracy was pretty consistent for the Giants as their offense was just in general pretty bad, and him and Malik Neighbors are definitely bright spots on this offense, and I think they'll be good weapons in New York for years to come, unless Tyrone Tracy has a massive sophomore slump. But I don't see that happening, and I think he will have a solid season. Number 22 is new Denver Bronco J.K. Dobbins. Dobbins had a career year last year in Jim Harbaugh's run-heavy offense and was finally able to stay healthy, which has been the biggest problem for J.K. Dobbins. Sure, he didn't crack 1,000 yards, but that can be likely attributed to the fact that he was splitting carries with fellow former Baltimore Raven Gus Edwards. I think being the RB1 in Denver will help him tally up more yards. I think he's going to thrive in the Sean Payton Denver Broncos offense and have a really good season on a really good Denver Broncos team. Number 21, we got Tony Pollard of the Tennessee Titans. It was pretty under the radar because he was on a pretty terrible Tennessee Titans team, but Tony Pollard actually had a career year last year and a great bounce-back season in a new uniform for Tennessee. While sharing the carries with Tyjae Spears, Tony Pollard had 1,079 rushing yards, averaged 4.2 yards per carry, and had 5 touchdowns. Tony Pollard is the guy in Tennessee for now, and I think he's going to be really solid this year as he has shown that he can be a consistent 1,000-yard rusher. Number 20, maybe the most forgettable running back in the NFL right now. We got Alvin Kamara. Honestly, haven't heard a lot from Alvin Kamara, but he's actually been posting up some solid numbers year in and year out in the New Orleans Saints offense, even though this team is a complete disaster. Kamara was so close to a 1,000-yard season as he had 950 yards, 6 touchdowns, averaged 4.2 yards per carry, and PFF gave him a 73.7 grade. Kamara is just the definition of mid, hasn't done anything to get headlines, but he's also a solid running back that will get you the yards you need. Number 19, we got former Boise State Bronco and now Las Vegas Raider Ashton Ganti, the only rookie on this list, and that is for a good reason because Ashton Ganti is definitely something special. Ganti is easily the best running back prospect since Saquon Barkley, and the only reason we can't rank him higher is because we haven't really seen him play any NFL snaps. With that being said, he almost broke the college single-season rushing record, even though he was in the Mountain West. I still think this guy's a stud and is going to have a great NFL career. We're approaching a group of running backs that you hear the name and you think, oh yeah, that guy's a stud, but then you look at the numbers and they really haven't had that great of seasons in the past couple of years. Number 18 is Ken Walker, and we know Ken Walker is a very talented running back, but last year the numbers just weren't there. 573 yards on 153 carries is just not going to cut it. I know Walker caught the injury bug, but still he didn't even miss that much time last year. But yeah, we know what Ken Walker can do when he's at his best, and he can definitely be a franchise running back and make his way potentially even into the top 10. Another guy who surprisingly did not have that good of a season last year, at 17, we have New York Jets running back Bree Hall. Bree Hall only had 876 yards and an overall PFF grade of 62, which was ranked 40th among all running backs, which is not good and not nearly as good as we know Bree Hall can be. I know the New York Jets had a bit of an offensive identity crisis last year, but still, Bree Hall did not have that good of numbers, but we know he's super talented and, like Ken Walker, can be top 10. Coming in at number 16, we have Miami Dolphins running back Devonta A. Despite the Dolphins' offense kind of collapsing last year and everyone having down years, and the just general passing first mentality of the Dolphins' offense, Etienne still had a solid season, tallying 907 yards. With that being said, the numbers just aren't as good as some of the other running backs in football. Although they are solid, they're just not up there with the top tier running backs, and we just need to see more consistent production and just higher numbers out of Etienne. Number 15 is Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon struggled with injuries last year, but despite that, his numbers still were really good in his first season with the Houston Texans. Mixon once again was a 1,000-yard rusher, had 11 touchdowns, averaged 4.1 yards per carry, and had a really good season in his debut Houston season. Now that the Houston Texans have a bit of a wide receiver injury problem, I'm excited to see what happens when he gets more carries than last year, and they depend on him more as the focal point of their offense. It'll just be fun to watch for Mixon. Number 14, we got Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones is just super consistent in the league. He's already 30 years old, but he's still tallying great numbers, albeit it will probably fall off this year in Minnesota, considering that he's 30 years old and they have Jordan Mason to split carries with. But still, that doesn't take away from the fact, despite having Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison on your team, he still rushed for over 1,000 yards, albeit only 5 touchdowns is a bit concerning, but still, he had a really solid season in purple and yellow, and I'm glad that the Vikings brought him back. Number 13, we have a guy who has the potential to be a top 10 running back easily, and that is Dalvin Cook's brother, James Cook. Cook, by the skin of his teeth, had an 1,000-yard rushing season. He had a PFF grade of 82.3. And now that Amari Cooper's gone, they only got Keon Coleman to throw the ball to. Expect the Bills to lean on James Cook as one of the focal points in their offense. I believe he has the talent to be one of the best running backs in all of football. He's got good speed, good size. He's just a good running back, and I could see him easily getting to the top 10 next year. Number 12, bit of a bold ranking, but we have newly acquired Los Angeles Charger Naji Harris. Naji Harris is never flashy, doesn't really find the end zone too often, but he is the model of consistency in the NFL. And correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I believe he is the running back with the most consecutive 1,000-yard seasons, as he has 4. He's gotten 1,000 yards every single year he has been in the NFL, and I don't see him slowing down in Jim Harbaugh's run-heavy offense. In fact, I see his numbers skyrocketing and him having a great season in 2020. Number 11 is an even more underrated and even more consistent running back. We have Arizona Cardinals stud James Conner. Year in and year out, James Conner just posts up some solid numbers, even with the Arizona Cardinals. He is 30 years old, which is the only red flag in his game, but other than that, PFF loves him. They grade him a 90.4, which is 5th among active running backs. He had 1,094 rushing yards last year and 8 touchdowns. Just great numbers from a guy at his caliber. I don't know how many seasons like this he has left, but he's just solid. Kicking off the top 10, coming back for his second year of the NFL football, we have Tampa Bay Buccaneers running back Bucky Irving. I know that Bucky Irving might be due for a sophomore slump, but what he was able to do in Liam Cohen's offense was absolutely insane for a rookie. Again, now that Liam Cohen's gone, expect his production to dip a little, but last year was just absolutely spectacular. He was 10th in rushing yards with 1,122, 8 touchdowns. These are numbers that you cannot just look away from. And he was a 90.6 on PFF, 4th out of all running backs. Number 9, we got Green Bay Packer Josh Jacobs. In his first season in Green Bay, he actually had a very good season, as he was the main focal point of this offense due to their lack of solid wide receiver, or an alpha dog wide receiver. Jacobs' numbers were really solid last year in Green Bay, as he had over 1,000 yards. He was able to stay healthy and be consistent, and that's just what you need out of Josh Jacobs. Consistency is always a problem, but he's shown that he can do it now in Green Bay. I think he'll have a really solid season. He's a great guy for the Packers to build around. Number 8, we got Chuba Hubbard of the Carolina Panthers. Chuba Hubbard has been an underrated running back throughout his entire NFL career, but he really broke out last year and became one of the reasons why the Panthers are actually starting to play some really good football down the stretch. If the Panthers were to make a run at the NFC South last year, they were going to have to establish the run, and establish the run they did, as Chuba Hubbard had a really good season. He was awesome for me in fantasy. He had over 1,000 yards, 8 touchdowns. What more could you ask for out of Chuba Hubbard? I think he's one of the most underrated running backs in the league.
Number 7, we have Jonathan Taylor. Despite having 1,431 yards, 11 touchdowns, and 4.7 yards per carry, Colts fans in the comments, I didn't watch a ton of Jonathan Taylor last year, but please explain to me why he has 57.1 PFF ranking. That's kind of insane, as that's 47th among running backs, even though his numbers are phenomenal. Jonathan Taylor had a really good season last year. His explosiveness was back. He was able to stay on the field, and the numbers show that, as he was just really consistent for the Colts. He is the Colts offense and still elite. Number 6, we have LA Rams running back Kairen Williams. Ever since Kairen Williams burst onto the scene last year with the breakout season, he has completely added a new dimension to this lethal Rams offense. And yeah, he was phenomenal last year with 1,299 yards, 14 touchdowns, average 4.1 yards per carry. Williams was as consistent as they come for the Rams last year, as he was pretty much a lock to get 100 yards per game, as he averaged 93.6 yards per game. Williams is just a solid player for the Rams. Number 5, this might be a shock, but we have none other than Christian McCaffrey himself. Guys, I know Christian McCaffrey was injured a ton last year. I know his numbers are pretty bad from when he did play. But cut Christian McCaffrey some slack, because we know what he can be at his best, and that is the best running back in football. Christian McCaffrey still only 29, so he's due for about 2 or 3 more good seasons with the Niners. Kyle Shanahan's just going to have a field day with him this year, and I just think this is the bounce back CMC season. Number 4, guys, really starting to come into his own on the Atlanta Falcons offense. We got Bijan Robinson. It kind of went under the radar because the Falcons were just so underwhelming this season. But Bijan Robinson actually had a career year in his sophomore season, and this was the first season we saw him rush for 1,000 yards. We saw Bijan Robinson's electric play style on full display when Kirk Cousins was just struggling with sling the rock. And according to PFF, he was as elite as they come, as he was ranked 2nd, just behind Derrick Henry for running back rank. Number 3, we have Detroit Lions Jir Gibbs, the guy who's taking a couple picks after Bijan Robinson. But yeah, I think he is the better running back out of him and Bijan. Jir Gibbs was absolutely terrifying for opposing defenses last year. And hear me out, a couple years from now, he will be the best running back in all football. His size, his speed, his acceleration is just electric. And this is all with splitting carries with David Montgomery. Gibbs' numbers were phenomenal, but the most important one, we got 5.6 yards per carry. That's absolutely insanity. Next up at number 2, we got none other than Derrick Henry, possibly the greatest running back of our generation. But yeah, he's coming in at number 2. What Derrick Henry was able to do and his age 30 season was absolutely nuts. When you're in your 30s and you can be one of the most terrifying players in the league, that is when you know you are just elite. I mean, come on, 1,921 yards, 16 touchdowns, averaging 5.9 yards per carry is absolute madness, Derrick Henry. There are kids watching, This guy's a freak. That means at number 1, the best running back in football, it's got to be Saquon Barkley. If you piece together a 2,000-yard season, get into MVP talks as a running back, and lead your team to a Super Bowl, you are going to find yourself at the number 1 running back spot, which is what Saquon Barkley did in his first season with Philadelphia. You also got to give some props to the Eagles' offensive system, because whatever running back finds its way into Philadelphia is going to have a career year either way. With that being said, from the backwards hurdle to the Super Bowl ring, Saquon Barkley had a season to remember last year. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe, and we're trying to hit 100 by the time the NFL season starts, so if you subscribe, that really helps out. And if you like the video, check out another one.